He stopped dreaming long ago, not because he couldn't, but because he feared what dreams might reveal. Every night, his mind remained still empty, a silence so deep it almost seemed alive, pressing against the walls of his consciousness. Shadows moved where no light should reach. He told himself it was safer not to dream, safer not to remember, safer to exist only on the shallow surface of his waking hours. But the mind does not rest so easily. It does not accept the silence imposed upon it, nor can it endure the forced emptiness. Even when we try to silence it, it whispers, and if ignored, it begins to scream. Memories, like water finding cracks in stone, began to seep through, slowly, silently, until there was no way to contain them anymore. First came the small, almost innocent fragments, a scent, a color, a distant sound. Then faces long forgotten, voices that had faded into nothingness, feelings he had buried so deep they almost seemed imaginary. But nothing truly disappears. Everything merely hides, waiting for the right moment to return. And as the nights went on, the memories gained shape, color, texture. He could almost touch the past. He could feel the breath of those he had loved, hear the laughter that once surrounded him, sense the warmth of a time that no longer existed. And yet, all of it came mixed with pain. The pain of what was lost, what was denied, what never came to be. He tried to push it all away, to anchor himself in the monotony of the day, in predictable noises, in mechanical tasks. Wake up, get dressed, work, eat at a soulless cycle, created to silence the storm inside him. But the night always returned, and with it, the inevitable confrontation. The darkness seemed alive. Every shadow in the room moved. Every distant sound became a calling, and within him, the ghosts he thought he'd escaped awoke, not as monsters, but as truths he had refused to face, the face of someone he loved and left, the opportunity he let slip away, the words he never spoke, now echoing like laments between his thoughts. He understood, though he didn't want to admit it. These visions were not punishments. They were memories asking for redemption, fragments of who he once was, begging to be accepted. But he resisted because he knew that every memory came with an ancient pain, a dormant guilt, a regret he had spent his life trying to ignore. And the more he fought them, the stronger they became. The mind is a prison that feeds on what we try to hide, and the more he denied the past, the more the past devoured him, until, somewhere between wakefulness and dream, he began to confuse what was memory and what was imagination. The boundaries of reality dissolved, and he found himself trapped in a limbo, a space where everything he had avoided in life gathered to watch him in silence. Dreams had once been windows to other worlds, open doors to the unknown, gateways to the impossible to end them. He had felt free, as if reality did not limit him, as if time and the body were only fleeting illusions. In his dreams, everything was possible, reuniting with those who were gone, living the life that could have been, saying the words he never had the courage to say. But now, those windows had turned into mirrors, cold, distorted, merciless mirrors. Each dream no longer freed him. It imprisoned him. Each image reflected not who he wanted to be, but who he truly was. And the more he looked, the more he saw what he had spent a lifetime hiding. The exhaustion, the loneliness, the emptiness, the shadows stretched across the walls of his mind, like roots spreading through an abandoned house. They took shape, twisting familiar faces, turning sweet memories into silent accusations. The smile of someone loved became a look of reproach. The memory of a touch turned into a gesture of rejection. Everything that once was warmth was now iced. He could almost hear them. The voices, faint whispers, almost inaudible, yet impossible to ignore. They called his name again and again, with a soft, cruel tone of those who do not need a shout to wound. They spoke of failures, of regrets, of the times he stayed silent when he should have spoken, of the times he ran when he should have stayed, of the times he chose silence out of fear of being hurt, and was hurt precisely because of it. He walked through the empty apartment, the ticking of the clock loud in the absence of movement, but the clock was stopped. The sound he heard did not come from the gears. It came from within him. Each step echoed a heavy, dense silence. The floor creaked beneath his feet as if protesting his presence. Every object seemed to watch him with irony. Every corner seemed to hold a secret. The house itself seemed to breathe, alive with the memory of all he had tried to forget. And yet, even in that suffocating emptiness, the whispers of his mind could no longer be ignored. The more he sought silence, the more silence consumed him. He felt the weight of hours, the weight of unlived time, as if his entire life were a sequence of delayed moments, of promises made to himself and never fulfilled. There were nights when he closed his eyes tightly, trying to convince himself that sleep was dangerous, that dreaming was a threat, if the simple act of dreaming was to open the door to something he didn't want to see. But the mind is stubborn, and in the darkness behind his eyelids, the images came anyway, uninvited, without warning. They were scattered fragments, like shards of glass, childhood memories, the sound of rain on the roof, the smell of freshly baked bread, the innocent laughter of a time that would never return, forgotten friendships, faces erased by time, yet still looking at him, asking to be remembered, lost opportunities, doors that closed before he ever had the courage to cross them. All of it came at once, colliding in his mind like a storm of light and shadow. And the more he tried to escape, the deeper he was pulled. He wanted to wake up, he wanted to breathe. But the abyss held him, not violently, but with a calm, inevitable force, almost compassionate, as if saying, "Don't run. Look within." It was a gentle gravity, yet relentless, pulling him closer and closer to the center of himself. And the deeper he went, the more he realized that the abyss was not the enemy. It was the mirror. It was him. He began to understand that fear was never the enemy of his dreams. It was the measure of his avoidance, the fear of what he might find, of what he might see in himself, had kept him from the only thing that gave life its depth: confrontation. Dreams were never meant to be safe. They were meant to show the raw, unfiltered truth that waking hours conveniently hide. And so, the nights went on, each dream more vivid, more accusatory than the last. Faces he had hurt, words he never said, paths he never walked, all demanding recognition. He could no longer distinguish dream from memory, past from present. Everything fused into a single, haunting awareness that life itself cannot be paused, that existence cannot be sanitized off pain, regret, or fear. That he realized that to stop dreaming was to stop feeling, and to stop feeling was to stop living. Each breath became a reminder of the moments he had refused, the connections he had neglected, the love he had never given or fully received. His mind, once a refuge of avoidance, had become a prison of reflection. In the silent hours, when the city slept and the world seemed suspended, he finally faced himself. He saw the abyss within, the place where his dreams and his life met, inseparable and terrifying in their honesty. And though it was painful, he began to accept it. The dreams, the memories, the fears, they were all part of the same truth. The only way forward was to embrace them, to take a deliberate step into the shadows that had once terrified him. He understood, at last, that life was not the absence of dreams, that it was the courage to face them. And even in the stillness of his dark room, while the clock remained stubbornly frozen, he felt the faint signs of awakening, not in the outer world, but within himself. The abyss of the mind is vast, endless, and unforgiving. but it is also a mirror, reflecting not only what we fear, but what we could become if we dare to confront it. He closed his eyes once more, not in avoidance, but in acceptance. The shadows no longer threatened, they invited. And in that invitation, he took his first step toward living fully, toward dreaming again that he had stopped dreaming long ago. But perhaps at last he was ready to begin.